Hey guys, welcome back to more Malicious Compliance stories. In this video, OP's ex sues him and demands that he gives her everything he owns. OP complies with her demands and pulls an insane Uno reverse card. And the Malicious Compliance relationship title story starts like this. I was married for over a decade. For the first few years, things were great, we were a team, I was climbing the ladder in my field and she was working a job she seemed to enjoy. Then I got a major promotion. It meant a lot more money, but also more hours, more travel. We decided, and at the time, I truly believe it was a we decision, that she should stop working. We didn't really need her income and she had always talked about wanting to manage the house and maybe do some charity work, take up a hobby. It sounded idyllic. The problem is, idyllic gets expensive and comfortable becomes entitled. Over the next years I went from being a husband to being a walking, talking ATM. My job was high stress, but I was good at it and the pay reflected that. I was supporting a lifestyle, not just a life. The house was immaculate, but it was also redecorated every 2 years. Her hobby became collecting designer handbags. Her charity work was mostly attending expensive luncheons. Anytime I would gently suggest that maybe we should be saving more, I would get the classic line, "I sacrificed my career for this family. Don't you think I've earned a little comfort?" What career? I never knew, but it was the trump card and it worked every single time. Things came to a head when I found, well, let's just say, I found definitive proof that her comfort also included a friend she was seeing while I was on my frequent business trips. It was not just a suspicion, it was a mountain of receipts and text messages she had carelessly left on a shared tablet. I was devastated but also weirdly relieved. It was the get out of jail free card I didn't know I was looking for. I confronted her and it went exactly as you would expect. Crying, screaming, and then the inevitable, "You drove me to it, you were never here." I told her I wanted a divorce. At first I wanted to be decent. We were in a no-fault state, but I knew the drill. I was the earner. I would be paying. I sat her down and made what I thought was an incredibly generous offer. We sell the house, we split the profit 50-50. We split the savings and retirement accounts 50-50 too. I will pay for your new apartment deposit and the first few months' rent. And I will pay you significant spousal support for 5 years, plenty of time for you to get retrained or find a job. We don't need lawyers, we can just use a mediator. It'll be clean, fast, and we can both move on. She looked at me like I had just offered her a moldy piece of bread. Her friends, who were all in similar or worse marriages, had gotten in her ear, her mom had gotten in her ear too, and suddenly the woman who hadn't earned a paycheck in 12 years was a legal expert. 50%? She scoffed. After I gave you the best years of my life? After I sacrificed my potential so you could build your career? I'm not moving. I'm keeping the house. I'm keeping the savings and you will be paying me alimony for the rest of my life. That's what I'm entitled to. I tried to reason with her. I explained that's not how the law works, not even close, but she was adamant. My friends told me I just have to show the judge what you earn and what I earn, which is 0. Thanks to you, and they will give me whatever I want. I sighed and said, fine, if you want to do this the hard way, we will do it the hard way. But I'm telling you, you will regret it. I moved into a new apartment and I got a new bank account, moved my direct deposit and started documenting everything. I was still paying all the bills for the house, the mortgage, the utilities, the car insurance and her credit cards. I also sent her a generous monthly allowance on top of that, so she couldn't claim that I'd cut her off. I kept every email and every bank transfer confirmation. I sent her a revised formal settlement offer via email, still very generous, still 50-50 on assets, still 5 years of alimony. Her response? My lawyer will be in touch. A week later, I was served. At my office no less. It was a thick, intimidating package. She hadn't just hired a lawyer, she had hired the shark. The most notorious blood-in-the-water, scorched-earth divorce attorney in the city, the one whose billboards just had his sneering face on them. The suit was a work of fiction. It demanded 100% of the house equity, 80% of all liquid savings and retirement, and a permanent alimony figure that was, no joke, about 70% of my net income. But the real kicker was the reason. It was not just an irreconcilable differences plea, it was a formal accusation of economic abuse, claiming I had systematically controlled all finances, prevented her from accessing marital funds, and left her destitute while hoarding assets. I was furious. Destitute while living in a 4,000 square foot house I was paying for and spending $5,000 a month on her Amex, also paid by me? But then as I read the last part of the summons, I stopped being angry and I started to smile. The lawsuit demanded, as part of the legal process, a full and complete forensic accounting of all marital assets and expenditures from the past 10 years. So her lawyer was demanding in writing that I provide every bank statement, every credit card bill, every investment report, and every receipt I could find. He was trying to intimidate me to bury me in paperwork, hoping I would miss something he could use or just give up and settle on her insane terms. He thought that he was threatening me, but he didn't realize he had just handed me the shovel to bury his own client because I would comply exactly with their demands. I did not hire a shark, I hired something better. I hired a quiet, unassuming man in his late 60s who wore bow ties and looked more like a college professor than a lawyer. He was a partner at a small high-end firm that specialized in one thing: complex divorce litigation with forensic financial analysis. They had 2 forensic accountants on staff full-time, and he was the guy judges trusted to find money nobody else could. At our first meeting, I dumped the lawsuit on his desk. He read it, his face impassive. He got to the economic abuse part and let out a tiny, she's living in the house, correct? And you're paying the bills? He asked. Yeah, all of them, and giving her an allowance. I handed him my bank statements and the email records. He nodded slowly, and this demand for a full forensic accounting, very bold. They must think you're hiding something, are you? No, I said. I'm not the one who was hiding things. A flicker of interest in his eyes. Go on. I want to comply with their request, I said, a grin spreading across my face. I want to give them everything. Every single piece of paper they asked for. I want to drown them in the truth. He finally smiled. Mr. OP, I think we're going to get along just fine. Let's get started on that production of documents. The next period of my life was hell, but a very productive kind of hell. Discovery, as it's called, is part of the lawsuit where both sides demand evidence from the other. Her lawyer demanded a decade's worth of my life. He got it. I spent a long time on the phone with my bank, my credit card companies, my brokerage firm. I paid tons of money in fees for them to retrieve archived statements from years ago. I boxed up thousands of pages. My lawyer's team organized it, scanned it, and indexed it, every paycheck, every bonus, and every 401k contribution. It proved one thing. I was a high earner, but I was also a boringly consistent saver. There was no hoarded money, no secret offshore accounts, it was just all right there. But the demand was for all marital expenditures, and that is where the fun began. Marital expenditures included her expenditures. She had 3 credit cards in her name that were paid from our joint account. I'd never really looked at the itemized statements, I just paid the balance. Her lawyer had demanded them. So I got them, all 10 years of them. My lawyer and a junior accountant on his team sat in a conference room with me for a solid weekend, fueled by coffee and bagels, and we went through them line by line. It was staggering. The economic abuse victim was spending on average $7,000 a month on non-essentials, lunches at 4-star restaurants 5 days a week, weekly spa treatments, a staggering amount from designer boutiques, thousands and thousands at high-end department stores. She has claimed she has no assets of her own, my lawyer mused, tapping a statement with his pen, but she's spending like this. Where's all this stuff? She has a closet full of it, I said. No, he said, not the handbags. Look at this, regular cash withdrawals. $500 every Tuesday from an ATM near her mom's house. For 8 years, and look at this, bi-weekly transfers, $1,000 each to an external account. The memo line just says, household. What is this account? I have no idea, I said. I thought household was for, the housekeeping and groceries. The housekeeper and groceries are on this Amex, he said, pointing to another stack. This is something else. He made a note. We will subpoena the records for that receiving account. Let's see what else. And then we found it. The friend. The one who caused the divorce. I'd found the text, but I hadn't dug into the financials yet. Now, thanks to her lawyer's demand, I was, and there it was. An old joint credit card we were both on from early in our marriage. I'd stopped using it years ago and assumed she had too. It turned out that she had changed the billing to paperless and had it sent to an email address I didn't even know about, one she had set up specifically for this card. But here's the kicker, the bill was on autopay from our joint account mixed in with dozens of other auto payments. The payment amounts varied every month and the descriptor on our bank statement just said credit core payment, generic enough that I'd never questioned it among all the other bills. However, this meant the following. I'd been paying for her affair for years without realizing it. It was a treasure trove of infidelity, hotel charges, and not just any hotels but 5-star boutique places in our own city. On nights I was documented as being on business trips, my lawyer cross-referenced my travel receipts, which we also had to produce. There were dinners at restaurants I'd never even heard of for two, and then the grand finale, a charge from a very exclusive jeweler, a $22,000 charge, my lawyer read, adjusting his glasses. What did she buy you for your anniversary that year? A set of golf clubs, I said. Maybe $1,500. Well, he said, tapping the paper, someone got a very nice watch. My lawyer's team bundled everything, all my boring, responsible financial records, and all of her explosive damning ones. We sent over 50 bankers' boxes of indexed, tabbed and highlighted documents to the shark's office. We had maliciously complied with his request down to the last paperclip. The next step was depositions, and this is where the lawyers get to question the opposing party under oath. Her lawyer, the shark, was licking his chops. He was going to tear me apart about my hoarding, but he didn't. My deposition was the most boring 2 hours of my life. Mr. OP, what is your salary? I told him. What is your bonus structure? I told him. Do you have any other bank accounts? No. Any other sources of income? No. He kept asking the same questions in different ways, trying to catch me in a lie, but I was telling the truth. My life was an open book. My lawyer's team had made it an open book. After 2 hours he had let me go, visibly frustrated, and then it was her turn. I was not present, but my lawyer gave me the full glorious transcript afterwards. It was a masterclass. My lawyer, the kind professor, was all politeness. Ma'am, thank you for coming. I just have a few questions to clarify the claims in your petition. You have stated that my client engaged in economic abuse, is that correct? Yes, he was completely controlling. I never had any money of my own. I had to ask him for everything. So you had no personal bank accounts, no assets in your name? None, she said, full of confidence. He kept it all. My lawyer slid a piece of paper across the table. Could you please identify Exhibit A? This is a bank statement for an account at First National Bank in your sole name. It looks to have a current balance of $112,450. Could you explain where this money came from? Silence. Her lawyer, the shark, apparently went rigid. This was his client's hidden asset, which she had forgotten to tell him about. A cardinal sin. That was a gift, she stammered, from my mother over the years. A gift? That's very generous, my lawyer said warmly. But then could you explain Exhibit B? He slid over the trace report. This shows 112 bi-weekly transfers of $1,000 from your joint marital account into this gift account, memos all marked household. Was your mother also named Household? Her lawyer immediately called for a break. The transcript noted that he and my ex were heard shouting at each other in the hallway. When they came back, she was pale. My lawyer continued just as gently, Ma'am, you also state that my client kept you from enjoying the fruits of the marriage. That you were destitute? Yes, I had nothing. He was out on business trips living it up while I was stuck at home. Stuck at home, I see. He slid over a stack of credit card summaries. Exhibit C, this is a summary of your personal Amex expenditures for the last 36 months. It shows, let me see, $21,400 at luxury spa, $48,000 at designer boutique, and an average of $3,200 a month in restaurant charges. Does this look like the spending of a destitute person? I had to entertain for his job. It was expected. Really? My lawyer said, feigning surprise. You were entertaining at luxury spa? And can you tell me which of my client's customers you were entertaining at the Ritz-Carlton for 2 nights in October while my client was in Tokyo? That was with a girlfriend. We had a spa weekend. A spa weekend, I see. And did your girlfriend enjoy the $22,000 men's luxury watch you purchased for her at the hotel shop? Exhibit D. The deposition ended. Her lawyer did not even try to rehabilitate his witness. He just said, "We are done here." The shark's office called my lawyer later. The sneer was gone. He wanted to settle ASAP. My lawyer's response was simple. My client's original pre-lawsuit offer is off the table. Your client has committed perjury in a sworn deposition. She has materially misrepresented her assets and she has defrauded my client for years. You know and I know that if I present these findings, your client will not only get nothing, no house, no alimony, she will likely be referred to prosecutors for perjury. She's also on the hook for the dissipation of marital assets, namely the $112,000 she hid and the money she spent on her affair. That all comes out of her side of the ledger. The shark knew that he was beaten. "What do you want?" "Here's our final offer," my lawyer said, "and it's not negotiable. Number 1, the $112K in her hidden gift account, that's her share of the marital savings, all of it. My client keeps the rest of the savings and all of the retirement accounts to offset the money she dissipated on her affair. Number 2, the house will be sold immediately, the profit will be split 50-50. Number 3, alimony, my client's original offer of 5 years is gone, the court will award her nothing after this. But to avoid court, my client will offer her 12 months on 1 year of rehabilitative alimony at a figure 40% less than his original offer. It's enough to get a job and an apartment. After 12 months, it stops permanently. Number 4, she will of course be solely responsible for her own legal fees. "She will never agree," the shark said. "She will," my lawyer replied. "Because you're going to tell her that this is the best deal she will ever get and her only other option is to be publicly humiliated in court and walk away with literally nothing but her closet full of clothes and a potential criminal record. Your choice." They took the deal, they signed it within 24 hours. The aftermath was quiet and beautiful. The house sold fast, I moved into a new condo, my finances took a hit obviously, but I was free. I was no longer an ATM. My ex, her half of the house money was significant but not live for the rest of your life significant, and her legal bill from the shark, I heard through the grapevine it was well over $80,000, he charged her for every second of his failed scorched earth campaign, and her rehabilitative alimony ran out a year later. I heard she burned through her house money in less than 2 years trying to maintain the lifestyle she thought she was entitled to. All of her friends disappeared when the money did. Be careful what you wish for, especially when you're demanding it from someone who keeps better records than you do. And the next one is another malicious compliance story, and by the way, if you enjoyed these malicious compliance stories, please don't forget to like the video and leave me a comment because that would be very much appreciated. This one is titled, "Absentee Boss Wants Me to Increase the Daily Order Against My Suggestion?" You got it. So I used to work at an upscale-ish cafe. I was a supervisor and in charge of the bakery section. There was also a kitchen and a coffee bar. And now Mother's Day was our biggest day of the year by a huge margin, like it would be close to triple our daily sales for a regular Sunday. Most mid-grade holidays would also be busy, and after every big holiday sales day, the sales the next day would be around 50 to 60% of normal, so I would order about 2/3 of my regular order for that Monday. Now, our owner was somewhat absentee from our store. She owned 5 locations, 4 of which were in the same city. Ours was the outlier in a smaller location about 2 hours away. She spent almost all of her time at the 4 locations and maybe visited us once a month. This month, she just happened to come on the day after Mother's Day. I can add that all of the employees, only the assistant manager liked the owner. Even the manager could not stand her. She saw that my bakery case was somewhat low and asked why. I explained that the day after holidays was always slower and I ordered less because I didn't want to waste money. She told me never to do that again, and she in fact told me to double my normal order. Now, I'd been in this job for 4 years by this point and I knew that bakery section inside and out. Also at this point, only the manager and one of the cooks had been there longer than me. Even the manager told me that things were always better when I was there. I always stayed late to cover call-ins, often came in on my day off if they needed me, and I even once drove a catering delivery 90 minutes each way to satisfy a loyal customer. I told the owner that today was a special circumstance and that doubling the order would lead to a lot of food waste and recommended that we do not do it. With my regular daily orders, we usually ran out only near the end of the day, barring unforeseen circumstances like someone coming in and doing a big pastry order without notice. This was from a lot of trial and error over the years, and I changed my order up whenever things looked like they were changing. But she insisted even after the manager also told her that our regular order was fine. I tried again to tell and she just told me to do it. My manager also said it by that point, so I did it. I doubled my regular order. After about 2 weeks, she emailed me and asked why we were throwing out so many pastries every day. I told her that she had told me to double my order, and at that point my boss says she wanted to fire me. My boss convinced her that she needed me to help run the store, which she probably did, so I was not fired, but I lost my position as bakery lead. I was still a supervisor who mostly worked the bakery section, but I no longer ordered product, still the same wage, but I was switched from mostly mornings to mostly nights. While I did miss my morning regulars, I also enjoyed making the same money for less responsibility. Well, about 6 months later, the manager quit to go back to school and the place went downhill fast. As I said, everyone working there hated the owner, except the assistant manager who had quit about a month before this for a new job, and as soon as this happened, I started looking for a new job even though I hated changing jobs. So I did a number of others. Everyone was loyal to the manager, nobody to the owner. I took a supervisor job at a nearby restaurant and then never looked back. I'm told by some co-workers who are still there that it became difficult to get through the day without me and the manager there, and we lost lots of sales for over a year before they started picking up again. And the next one is a story from r/petty revenge that you don't want to miss. It is titled, I outdid my fiancé's petty boss. So I run a physical therapy clinic and my fiancé is a lawyer. A few months ago at our engagement party, I mentioned to a few of her colleagues that I'm happy to give them a discount if they need to see me. 4 of them have become my regulars. One day one of her partners booked in, and to put it lightly, none of the colleagues or my fiancé like him. After spending an hour with him, I understand why. He's very arrogant and condescending, but strangely desperate for approval. I remained pleasant with him though. After paying, he did mention, but I just said, well, it's for employees, with a smirk. He's been in a few times already. 3 weeks ago he came in and conversation turned to how my day was going. One of the therapists was sick, so I was busier than usual seeing their clients. He said that must be annoying and asked if they needed a medical certificate. I just said no, and I think that's a stupid policy, as I would rather someone stay home and not infect the clinic. He countered by saying that he wanted to be more strict with that at his office to prevent people slacking off. I ended up getting a rotten cold and eventually gave it to my fiancée. It hit her hard and she ended up working from home on Friday. She deteriorated over the weekend and then took Monday off. Her boss emailed her this morning saying she would need a medical certificate. First time that's been enforced. Coincidentally, he had a 2 o'clock appointment with me today, so I booked my fiancé in with her doctor at 2 and let him know that I have to cancel his appointment because I have to drive her to the doctor. To be fair, she's got vertigo and is pretty lightheaded. I would get back to him if I had any availability, but I'm fully booked for the next 3 weeks. He has messaged both of us saying that the medical is not necessary now. My fiancée said she cannot cancel due to late cancellation policy and that it's rude, and I just said it's best she go. And yeah guys, thank you so much for watching. Please check out my endless playlist on the left if you want to hear more stories, and I will see you again tomorrow.